Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness. Business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve, Ramona, and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast. Steve, Ramona.
Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I am so thrilled to have you join us today. This podcast is dedicated to exploring the idea of, guess what? A servant's heart, having a purpose, putting that in your work, in your life to make a difference, to make an impact, to make a change. I'm blessed, audience. I get to do it every day. So can you. But you're going to learn from my guests. They're going to motivate you, educate you, inspire you, how a servant's heart can change lives, change their life, and maybe get over some turmoil or trauma, or just help people around them grow. Guys and girls, it's the greatest feeling in the world. Trust me. As I said, I get the opportunity to do it every day. I want to thank our sponsor today, Pantheon Alliance. Imagine joining a community of high-income entrepreneurs and business leaders to create this world-changing thought leader platform to grow your business. For more information, reach out to me and I'll get you all the info. Last but not least is your homework. Yes, podcasts can have homework, and I'm giving it to you. I want you to think about how you're going to serve yourself and serve others today and what impact you create today. The homework is starting today. You get a big F if you start next week or next month. You start today, you get an A. Start tomorrow, you get a B. No other grades. A, B, or F. Start today. Make an impact with somebody and make a change. With that being said, my guest has an incredible story. She's lives near me. We had a long talk a few weeks ago, maybe a few months ago, and talking about a servant's heart, how you can go through so much trauma and still be able to learn and find ways to serve each other. So let's welcome to the show, Nadia. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Steve. I love that intro, by the way.
Thank you very much. I saw you
that.
smiling. I love that. It's great. That's the whole idea. Hope you're smiling out there. I'm sure you are.
I hope I get an A today, too.
Oh, you got an A because you're going to serve my audience. Absolutely. You started now, not today, now.
Yes.
I don't usually start with a story, but your story is so impactful and incredible. Can you start with your story?
Yes, of course. Like Steve said, we spoke actually a couple months ago, and that led to us being on this podcast today. I was a police officer for just over a decade in Oakland, California. I also served in the Army Reservist just over a decade as well, and I was also in corporate security for a couple years. But the story that Steve is talking about is I had a really big, life-changing, life-altering incident while I was working as a police sergeant in Oakland. It was July 23rd, 2016. I was a sergeant of police, and I was on my way to help out another sergeant on a call when I was T-boned in the middle of an intersection. A fully marked police car. I had a green light. They had a red light. Ran in the section. He hit me so hard. He pushed me over 3 lanes. When I got pushed over the 3 lanes, I went into a light pole and almost into the building that was sitting in there on the corner of this very infamous intersection in East Oakland. At that intersection, there's a liquor store. In that liquor store was an individual who had it on his heart to end a life that night. This gentleman walked up to my vehicle. While I was stuck in my vehicle after my severe car accident, I was stuck, seatbelt locked in place, door smashed on my driver's side, smashed in the front of me, had a cage in the back of me, nowhere to go. I look over to my right, to my passenger side window, and I see a gun barrel in the window. I see a man dressed in all white, looked just like me, standing at the window. And he starts firing into my car. And as he's firing into my car, it dawned on me, like, my life is probably going to end in this moment. And dang it, like, I'm in this filthy patrol car, I just got back from vacation and now my life is about to end. But by the grace of the divine and everything out there beyond us, the rounds that he did fire went into the seat.
Hmm.
I got rushed to the hospital directly after that because let me back up a little bit. He left the scene. I do not know where he went. He left the scene. I was able to get out of the car. I got taken to the hospital, and that was my last day, night ever in uniform. From there, I went on a spiral. I I realized I had no foundation under me. I'd been floating for so long, and a lot of that was rooted in the trauma I was seeing and all the destruction and just defilement that I was witnessing on the streets, internally and externally. And it, I realized in those moments, especially after separating from the police department, the toll it took on my life, my body, my mind, and my soul. And from there, it took a lot of deep reflection and inventory to even bring me to be on this podcast today with you.
Yeah.
Those moments were the most terrifying, and if you think about it, a cop's worst nightmare: to be stuck, to be pinned down, and then to be ambushed. And that's what happened to me. And that was in 2016. It's almost been 10 years since that happened, and it still lives deep in my DNA. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about that moment. There's not a time that goes by that I can't feel some element of the streets that still resonates in my body. And to what I bore witness to, I've given it away because I realize I can't hold on to it anymore. And especially if I want to keep serving my fellow human being, my fellow man, my fellow woman, my fellow child, that I can't hold on to that at all. So I had to really dig down very, very deep and crawl out of some very dark holes in order to stand before you today and even talk about such a topic.
It was a tough one. I don't usually get speeches, and I think the first time you told me the story, I was speechless too. Emotions coming back, but you tell the story and you still smile, which I know in the beginning didn't happen. You smile. I'm so glad you're here because you're doing so much great things in the world, in your world. Why do you think you smile when you tell the story now?
Well, I'm breathing. I'm above ground. I'm alive. And I can tell this story. I can tell the story not of just what happened to me physically, but what happened to me spiritually as well. And like I said, the depths and the darkness in which I went, and to be able to crawl out of those holes, not by my own hand, by not leaning on my own understanding, but by leaning on that created me and those around me that also have that same drive, that same will and same heart to do something purposeful with their lives.
What would you tell somebody listening? Because people listening have been through traumatic events or are associated either family or good friends. What's one of the steps they should take? First steps?
The first step is to reconcile and to forgive, whether that's a person, whether that's the moment, whatever it may be, because without that, you will be stuck in that same place. Tomorrow has its own worries. All you have is today to worry about. Tomorrow doesn't exist. Even what happened to you in the past, even though it's resonant in you, it doesn't exist anymore. All you have is this moment. So you have to really ask yourself what it is that you want in this moment. Even if it's 1% better than what you had yesterday, go for it. It does not matter. It will never matter what you did. It will never matter what you did in the past and how it affected you. No one around you is looking at that. They're wondering about you in the moment, you in front of them. What are you going to say to them? What are you going to do for them? All that ever matters is this moment.
No truer statement said than those last 2 minutes. Audience, I hope you wrote that down, or I've embraced it and wrote down some notes because we almost need to do this every day. There's things that happen in our life. I'm going to ask you, I hope it's not a tough question. It might be. I'm not sure if you've met this guy ever that shot you, but if you haven't and you did tomorrow, would you forgive him?
I've already forgiven him.
Okay.
It took a lot of, like, again, reconciliation.
Mhm.
It took a lot of self-inventory. It took a lot of just even realizing who I was in this whole kingdom, who I am as a human being, and what we are all trying to do. And it's interesting to look at it because, again, he looked just like me, had locks just like me, was standing on the other side of the door, staring at me. We're basically eye to eye, staring soul to soul. And there are a few things that happened. I understand. I have an empathy and understanding of why he did what he did. It doesn't make it okay, but truth be told, there is a history to not only us as Black folks out here, but his story, his own story being from Oakland and what he'd been through. I don't know much about it, but what I did know was that at the time of our incident, he was only 29 years old. He had just gotten out of prison. He had been in and out since a child. He was drinking, he was high, and he was coping with life. And he got fed some information, and instead of giving it to a higher being, he took it upon himself and decided to take some sort of action and try to end my life. And that those things are not lost on me. I saw it every day. I witness it every day. I have my own experiences as well. And so digging into that not even just empathy, because I feel that can be passive at times, that compassionate part of me, like what would my life have been if I was in those same sort of circumstances? Would I have done something similar? Would I have been brought to the same end, that I wanted to take somebody's life based on everything I've experienced, the things that I've witnessed, how I've been treated? I will never know that because that was not my plight, but that was his. And I was the result of that, the end result of that for him.
Yeah.
And if I were to meet him today, I would say to him, you know what? Like, I see you, I forgive you, and um, I pray that you meet God in this lifetime so that you can also forgive yourself and forgive your past and forgive everything that has touched you so that you can become a better man, become take that, even though he is locked up. Every day he can still look to something greater than himself and see that there's something for him because he has an out date. He has a parole. He has a parole. I think it's about 25 years from now. All his people will probably be gone because no one even showed up for him
Wow.
during the trial. No one showed up for him. I don't know who he's in contact with or not in contact with, but I pray he finds some solace in that somebody created him for a reason, and that reason doesn't have to go to waste in this cell.
Yep. I'm with you. I believe prisoners now. I've learned a lot in my hosting these podcasts and talking to ex-prisoners and ex-felons have done bad things, have
Mhm.
changed their life and are doing great things.
Mhm.
I love that you said that. All this traumatic event that you had, good things have come out of it. The first thing is your book, and thank you for sending it. I've read part of it. I read it all, but I felt your passion. Talk about your book, the name of the book, where they can get it. What was your
Yeah.
inspiration?
Garbage.
There it is. Yep.
It's called A Healing Through Creative Expression: Things I Think About in Other Works. So what I did was one of my outlets for a lot of this trauma and everything that was just bottled up inside that I wasn't able to get out over the years, just out of pure survival, was placed in amongst these pages as a beginning. It's not the whole story, but it's part of it. There was a part of me that needed to heal and that needed to be shared because, as again, I bore witness to a lot out there, and there are people that I bore witness to that could take something from what I went through, and to know that I'm not above anybody. I'm on no pedestal. I went through the same things you did. I just happened to be in uniform. I went through bouts with alcohol. I went through bouts with drugs. I went through bouts of just not respecting this human form. Because that's how down I was. That's how miserable I was. That's how I didn't feel worthy of life. So I took all that, and because I didn't want to sit in that position anymore, so I needed to find outlets to get that out, and writing is a big one for me. This is not the end of it. This is just the very beginning. And you never know how you're going to impact somebody. You never know when you're going to impact somebody. So why not put something that can be impactful out into the world,
Servant's heart.
regardless of what comes back to you.
Yeah. That's why I loved her when I first met her. She exemplifies the servant's heart, even from a job that we're not going to get into that, police and civilians and all this crazy stuff going on, even though this is a few years ago. Both sides are humans. God made them both humans, whether you're a civilian or a cop. Keep that in mind. I'll just stop right there with that. What I'm excited about too is let's talk about some exciting things.
All
You
right.
have a passion. You work with merchant services. Tell us about that new opportunity for you, or
Oh
newer.
man. Oh, of course. So, like Steve said, I'm in merchant services now. So I help local businesses, small businesses save money through their credit card processing. Credit card processing is generally the top three expenses for any business. Every time somebody swipes a card, there's a fee associated with it. The average rate, depending on how big your business is or how small your business is, can range from 1.5 all the way to 5%. I've seen 6% in some cases. And there are tons of other options out there. You don't have to be beholden to the big guys. So that's where I come in. I can provide one-on-one customer service on the phone, in Zoom, or in person. Granted, you're in my zip code, and I can help you. I can analyze your current statement. I can analyze your business's needs and provide you correct setup, provide you correct processing rates. Because what also happens is there's a variable rate in these fees. So debit card has its own fee or no fee depending on how you have it set up. You have MasterCard, Visa have their own fees, American Express, and then on top of that, any of those cards that have rewards, there's another fee associated with it. So depending on how much you're processing a month, what type of card you're processing, the rate will matter. So that's what I come in and do.
So it sounds like anybody listening, you have a small, medium-sized business, you'd come in and do an audit. I don't know, that's the word you guys use,
Yeah,
but come look at their expenses, what they're paying, and see if you can help.
correct. That's exactly what I do.
How
Mhm.
often can you make changes where you can save them money?
I've every business that I've talked to, I can help them. Even if it's just something small. I went into a local business the other day, and I'm not going to say which system they had. I want to put them on blast, but they had a system and their card reader was down. The card reader's down because every time somebody inserted a card, it was eating the chip. So people were losing credit cards and debit cards left and right. So I tell him, I said, because he had the sign that says, he needed a new you
Machine,
need
yeah.
don't put your credit card in the machine because it's gonna eat your card. And so I say to him, "How long has this been going on?" And he tells me how long it's been going on. It's been going on like a month. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I need to order one." I'm like, "Well, why haven't you ordered one?" And he's like, "I don't know." He's like, "Matter of fact, thank you for bringing it up to me." And the second thing was like, ask him to give it to you for free. He's been with this company for 5 years now. And I said, "You've been giving them month after month of money. Ask them for free." And he's like, "I didn't even think about that." And it's just like even little conversations like that. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And I happen to know a little something about merchant services. So I love to help. Even if I can't get your business, I would love to just help you in your business.
Well, I'm glad you shared that story, Nadia. You got me fired up right now
Yeah.
because I tell people all the time, there's no competition, there's collaboration, and
100%.
you probably won't get a sale,
Hmm.
but you help somebody out. It goes out to the universe. Or, audience, think about this: 2 months down the road, something else happens. Then they reach out to you and go, Nadia, it's happened again. How can you help us?
Right.
There's value to what you do. You've got to get paid what you do. Your company's got to get paid. But you start with the service side, and then finish with the transaction side, that's all we're asking. You're going to be super successful. I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk to you in a couple of years. No,
Come on.
I'm kidding. You won't talk to everybody. That's not your
No,
personality.
not at all.
What's one thing that you've seen that merchants do wrong with their merchant services?
They don't look at their statements. They don't know their statement. They don't even know what they're paying. They don't know that if someone swipes a card, it's at a certain percentage. Like for example, it says 2.6 plus 15 cents. That's average. If they were to manually enter that same credit card, that fee jumps up some in some cases close to 4%. You're talking about 3.5, 3.3, 3.7 plus 15 plus 30 plus 35 cents. There's so many nuances to this business that these bigger corporations there's so much information spread out that they just don't know, and they're just trying to make it easy for the customer without realizing the impact that it has on their business. And then again, like I said, this is one of their top three expenses and they don't even realize it.
That's such a good point. The top three expenses. I didn't know it was that high. I figured
high.
it was high, but that's high. The other thing I'm thinking, we're coming to the end here, which I knew would fly by because you're so wonderful.
Thank you.
Just love listening to you.
Thank you.
This falls down to like somebody has a bookstore. I don't know why I thought book, because we're talking books. So there's the owner that's got this deal for merchant services, but all those employees taking credit cards aren't aware of this, and they're just doing manual all the time. So do you come in and talk to the staff as well and service them?
Yes, I will come in and train your staff. I will explain all the nuances. You'll have my personal phone number. You'll have my ISO, which is my independent service operators help desk number. They're based here in the US. They're based here in California. Like, you have every resource at your fingertips when you deal with me.
Now there's an area you work in, right? You don't work all over the country, or do you?
I do.
Okay,
So
okay.
I can accept any business from across the country via Zoom. But if you want me physically, unless I'm traveling, I'm in the San Bernardino and Riverside County in Southern California.
That's great. So you can do the Zoom, bring the
Yes,
staff on, and do the training.
100%.
Perfect.
And I
See,
also travel too. So when I travel, hey, I'll let you know when I'm in your city if you need me to come
audience,
out.
smart, servant's heart, and a great person.
Thank
Can't
you.
beat a better. Can't beat somebody better than that. Let's end with a wonderful. I can't wait to ask you this question.
Okay.
So in San Bernardino, I've got a restaurant reservation for you for a table of 4. You obviously will sit in one of the chairs. In the 3 empty chairs, dead or alive, who would you invite to want to talk to? And what food would you order?
Food. I would love the colors of the rainbow at my table. I love that. I love eating the different colors of the rainbow and just eloquently put together and just tasty. So whatever a great chef can do to put that together, that'd be amazing.
Beautiful.
Who would I have? I'd have Steve,
Oh,
because come
God
on,
bless you. I
come
appreciate
on.
that.
Man, I would have either Martin Luther King or Malcolm X. I would love to pick their brains. They both had very similar, especially toward the end of their lives, they had very similar messaging. And I'm kind of curious how they transitioned because if you look at their careers from beginning to end, it's very different from when they started and ended very differently. And let's see, that's 2 to 3. Let's see, one more. I would love to have, man, Denzel Washington. That'd be cool. I would love to talk to him.
Oh my God. I'm glad you invited me because
Yeah.
one, I love Denzel, one of my favorite actors,
Yeah.
bar none, down the road, all actors. He's at their top 2 in my book, top 2 or 3. But I would love to talk to Malcolm X and Martin Luther King because it goes back to impact and change.
Yes.
Can't think of 2 bigger people that have done that.
Yeah.
So
Besides, of course, not Jesus, of course, but
yeah, amen.
yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, amen to that.
That's a given.
Well, Nadia,
Yeah.
thank you. You've
Thank
blessed
you.
my audience. You've blessed me. This is such an incredible podcast. But I know people listening are going, how can I reach out to Nadia? How can they find you?
Man, my Instagram, I have 2. I have one for my personal, one for my business. How can I link that here? I
I'll
can
put it
do
in the
that.
show notes, so don't worry about that.
Okay,
I'll put
cool.
it in the show notes.
Thank you. You can find my book on Amazon. I can I'll give Steve my business line phone number. You can reach me directly via text or call me, and I'll leave my email. So
Perfect. Perfect.
there's many ways.
What a great way. Oh my gosh. talking about a pivot. We pivot in life. You just said Martin Luther King and Malcolm pivoted. The beginning, they're much different than the end. You have the same journey. Look, where you started as a police, and you were a veteran too, right? You were military.
I was.
So thank
I
you
was
for
an
your
Army
service.
officer. Yes.
Army officer. So thank you for your service. But now you're doing merchant processing. Still serving like you did as a cop,
Yes.
as a police officer, as military, and all the stuff you did, but just serving in a different way and a lot safer, I have to say, too.
Yes. For sure.
A lot safer. So thanks again. This is wonderful. And audience, your homework at the end, call to action, you might want to say, is subscribe to the YouTube channel. Here's why. These are gifts. If you're listening to this and say maybe you know a friend that's a police officer that's been through some trauma, and you hear this story and go, Joe's got to hear this. And you share that link with him. And he listens to Nadia and probably gets emotional, but something happens and you change his life. It could be small or medium or large, but you made a change. That's a gift. Maybe they reach out to Nadia, a bigger gift. And maybe Nadia and him, Joe, connect, or whoever that may be. That's what we need to do in this world. We are got to be more together than away. And podcasts are such the greatest gift in the world. So do that. Also, me and Nadia want to thank you all for watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.